Nerd! But speaking of feminism, let's talk about Lizzo getting in trouble for fat shaming and apparently harassing some of her employees. So we got this very interesting lawsuit that, as ABC News reports, or NBC News, I should say, that basically Lizzo was weight shaming her backup dancers in addition to making them perform dubious, spicy acts in foreign sex clubs and stuff like that. So this is a fascinating story to me. Yeah, because basically, like whenever a lawsuit like this happens, you kind of wonder about the validity of it because like somebody gets fired, they get pissed off, they make up stuff to sue over and hope to settle out of court for. So I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt when a story as salacious as this comes to light. But just having seen how Lizzo acts and how big of a narcissist she is, I totally believe every single thing that this lawsuit is alleging. And I think a lot of people are kind of like doing that as well. But the sheer hypocrisy of Lizzo weight shaming her backup dancers, apparently like like Lizzo's like right hand person who's in charge of like the backup dancers was proselytizing to them, like she's like hardcore Christian, and so like she was like forcing her religious beliefs on them. There was an allegation of forced imprisonment because one of the security guards like detained one of the dancers for like against her will for like a number of hours. There's all types of like this article that I sent you guys is absolutely fascinating. The biggest of which is that Lizzo took all of her people to an Amsterdam strip club and forced them to eat bananas out of hoochies from the strippers. In addition to strippers apparently projectile shooting sex toys out of their hoo-has. I don't even know how that's possible.
Is there video of this?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. But the biggest thing is that one of the dancers like had like a vision problem, which kind of made her hard. It made it hard for her to focus, and so she recorded one of these meetings with Lizzo just because like like she wasn't all there, and then like Lizzo got super paranoid and start confiscating people's cell phones and having her security like do like really weird stuff to people she suspected, and she even accused her dancers of being drunk and made them re-audition as an excuse to fire them. So there's all types of crazy stuff. Brian, what's your take on this? Do you believe it?
Come straight to me. I totally believe that the snake is eating its tail because that's pretty much what always happens with these weirdos. I just think it's hilarious. Can I share my screen somehow?
Yeah.
I think this
the present thing.
This is what makes me laugh. Imagine that person. Can you put it up? Imagine that person saying, "Listen, you need to lose weight. It's unhealthy." Like, are you kidding me?
Brian, don't fat shame Lizzo. It's not cool.
Bro, imagine being approached by Lizzo and saying, "You need to lose weight."
Well, Brian, what's crazy is like Lizzo, she wasn't fat shaming because of health reasons. She was like, "Hey, you're my backup dancers. You're too fat. You need to get fitter in order to do the routines."
How fat were they? If they were like most people dancing behind Lizzo would look small in comparison.
So we have pictures of some of the backup dancers. Like they're not super fat, but they are thicker than your average backup
They're big
dancer.
girls. They're big girls.
Yeah, standing next to Lizzo, they look like supermodels. They're tiny little skinny people.
Most of these girls won the reality contest that Lizzo did for backup dancers. And it is kind of interesting that basically Lizzo has been insulated by the media for body positivity, and it's like, oh, like she's this spokesperson,
she's a beautiful,
for
curvy black woman.
Exactly, and so like now all these other beautiful curvy black women are accusing her of being not so beautiful and not so nice and not really believing in what she preaches. I find it Yeah, big hypocrite. Nina, what's your take on this?
What I I think it's really interesting because well, first of all, I love celebrity gossip, so I'm always like, oh my God, this is funny. Because much like Brian, I was like, imagine Lizzo making fun of anyone else, like telling anyone else, like, oh my God, you gained weight. But like jokes aside, though, I think power dynamics is always really fascinating to me. So the idea that a woman was sexually harassing her employees, and the idea that because this is what Me Too was based on, like basically the idea that powerful men in place in entertainment industry, that she's part of the music industry, she's one of the elite in the music industry right now, that she would be sexually harassing her employees, that she would be not just sexually harassing, but also just regularly just being completely vicious to them, and just over the basically misuse of her power. I find it fascinating because we have two scenarios here. One is that we have to believe all women, which are her accusers. So you have to believe all women because they're accusing her of this, or we have to believe all women and we have to believe Lizzo, and that the fact that these women are making it up to get fame or what fortune in this case because they're suing her. So it's just a very interesting thing. But just for me personally, because I know a lot about Lizzo and her background and the things she said, like, I don't make music for white people, and the kind of like the persona she's put out other than her music has been a very negative persona, just generally speaking. So it's just really easy to believe that all of this stuff is true. So it's easier to believe than, when Amber Heard is like, Johnny Depp beat the shit out of me because, well, whatever, for whatever reason, because it didn't seem like with Johnny Depp, even the history of drug use that he had, because he had so many past relationships with women, none of those women had ever come out to say anything bad about him, even the mother of his children. So it was just a really weird dichotomy, right? Like you would think like, well, this guy doesn't seem like the kind of guilt that would be associated with him that she's portraying. Whereas then with Lizzo, it's kind of like the opposite. You're like, okay, I kind of believe everything these women are saying. I mean, is there personal accountability to be had when we're talking about going to a place like that's like a sex club to eat bananas out of pusses and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, I can understand why some people would feel very uncomfortable doing something like that, but because of the power dynamics involved, I can also understand why they wouldn't say no and they would go and do it because they want to like pay bills and they want to see Lizzo. They want to be involved with her because maybe they admire her and there's power dynamics involved. So I think that's just all very fascinating because in this case, this is about women. Like, this is a woman in power, because if it was a man, this was a man and it was coming out about it, like this news was coming about a man doing this, it would be just disastrous, right? Like, now she's being offended by a lot, or defended by a lot of people because she's a woman and because of who she is. So I just find it all very fascinating.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. And in the article, they go into detail about how she basically peer pressured one of her dancers to partake in touching a nude male dancer at one of these things that she didn't want to do. So the power dynamic thing is like a legit thing in this scenario. I want to go to Odin on this, though, because in a previous segment, we talked about Joss Whedon being a fervent feminist. And it turns out that he was one of the biggest misogynists that you could possibly point out. And oftentimes the people who are the loudest about a certain issue and one of the biggest pundits about an issue turn out to be one of the biggest offenders of that issue because they're using it to cloak their bad behavior. And so in a situation like this, you have basically the media protecting Lizzo because of her race and her gender and her body positivity stuff, while she's basically using that as cover to get away with all the types of bad behavior that she wants. So what's your take on this, like, just blatant hypocrisy that we see from Hollywood and celebrities when it comes to basically doing the very things that they claim to be against?
Just a real quick side note though,
Yeah.
like I know that Odin is good. I'm really interested in what Odin has to say because I know Odin is a massive Lizzo fan. Like I just know that he just admires her music so much, and it's just a constant. Like, I mean, I just know Odin's really into her. So
he loves her flute playing. It's true.
I know Odin's just really into that. So let's go.
Goodness. Yeah. I mean, the entire time, like every single thing brought up about this article and about this person, all I can think about is just moral degeneracy. And just you think about how our world has really just fallen, especially the last decade plus. And it just seems like it's getting worse and worse. And you see how as soon as you start to go down the road of basically saying, oh, here are where my morals are today, and then, okay, here's where we are now, and it's just getting less, lower and lower and lower. It's not a surprise when you see stuff like this happen, right? When you have someone like Lizzo, who is already, all about sexualizing her own body, who is all about trying to, take a medical condition, right, which is, obesity itself, and trying to act as if this is somehow a good thing, that this is a positive thing, right? This body positivity thing. I really are just seeing just the degradation of culture and of morality itself. And so it's not a surprise when you have people like her, or even people like Joss Whedon, because that's also something that he is, he had been, pushing, was the falling away of any type of moral strictures, right? And typically that's what you end up seeing is when you have a lot of these people in our world who are going to be pushing ideas, ideologies, and just general ideas where it's going to be against a moral framework. All that you do is leave open the possibility of these types of falls happening, of things getting worse and worse and worse, of you becoming the villain of your own story, and of all of these different things. I talked about with WW Pro a couple times, where he talks about how we're in this like postmodern world, and I always like to add to it, but there's also this post-moral world, right? Where if you identify as a person of a certain set of beliefs or having a certain moral code, you are immediately branded a misogynist, a racist, whatever it might be. And so it's interesting to me that the people who are trying to hold to a moral code are deemed to be evil, are deemed to be the bad guys, when in reality, it's the people that are fighting against a moral framework that are the actual bad guys, that are actually doing these terrible, disgusting things and bringing and dragging down a ton of people with them in the process.
Hey guys, if you could do me a quick favor, if you like this episode and it tickles your fancy, or any other episode that we've done in the past, share it on social media and tag us in that post so that we know you're talking about us, and we will immediately jump onto that app and we will respond to your tag, and we can talk about what you like about the episode and possibly talk about something that we might want to cover in the future. And we would love to bring you in our community. We have a wonderful Discord app as well. There's a bunch of people in there that just love chatting with us. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you like this podcast, tag us in that post and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you guys so much. Back to the podcast.
Yeah, and Odin, just to kind of build off of that, since when did protecting children become a QAnon right-wing
conspiracy? It's such a wild
Seriously.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's
how is that a hot take? I don't get it.
I know.
Well, did you guys see that the NBC posted an article the other day about the same subject?
No.
What?
No.
Well, I know the whole, right now Sound of Freedom, is getting a lot of attention. And the reason why is because some person who supported them after the film had already been released is now being alleged to have done something bad. But even that one, the allegation is dubious on its face in the first place. But also, it's no different than if anyone, and I will have to give some kudos to Tony over at Deadline, because he did say, this is no different than if someone has an open place where you can donate to them. You get a random person donating to you and they happen to have done a terrible thing, right? There's no connection between you. But it's amazing how many people are using the name Sound of Freedom and the allegation in the same headline, because that they know exactly what that's going to do. Again, that's a great question that you asked.
Left-wing pedos out there just frothing at the mouth, like, someone
wanting to tear it down. And it's like, again, going back to that question, Matthew, it just said, why do so many people want a movie or want the message about this thing that's happening to children to somehow be demonized or somehow to be thought of as a conspiracy theory, when it's again it's because of that postmodern post-moral world that we live in today, where no, we have to, basically it's because too much of it's being revealed. too much of what's going on.
I think it's a little bit of I think it's a little bit of that, Odin, but I also think it's because your country is more divided now than ever before. So I think that in a sense that it's such a psyop that some people will basically die on that hill just to be against the other side. Like it is kind of unbelievable to think about, but some people are so married to that message and so married to their side, and how they'll defend something like this because it's made up or whatever. But this is why I think it's funny that like NBC came out. It's not funny because it's terrible. It's a terrible situation, and the funniness is just the outside perspective, but the situation was that some people were arrested, some very bad people were arrested, and more of this kind of thing was exposed just a few days ago. And the NBC had like headlines about it all over the place. But at the same time, a couple of weeks ago, all the same media companies were talking about how this is a made up situation that is, that is basically QAnon or whatever, and nobody should pay attention to any of this. But then here we go a week later where there's actual news happening about it, and they have to publish it because it's news. So it's just really funny to put those things side to side and be like, oh my God, like it does exist. You can't really be about it.
Yeah. Matt Vader, you're big into body positivity. What's your take on this?
I've gone on rants on this before. I'm glad Odin covered the sexualization part of everything that's wrong with Lizzo's message. But the other half of what's wrong with her is her bullshit body positivity nonsense. I do not believe in this movement. As a man of substantial girth, I understand that the way I am right now is going to kill me younger than what I should go if I don't take care of business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot of fat old guys, dude.
Not a lot of fat old guys. Right. And being somebody who's lost all that weight and put it all back on, I know how hard it is, and I know what it takes to do it. I'm on this trend right now. I am slowly losing weight, but I'm not where I was 4 years ago. Okay. And when you get these assholes like Lizzo and these other people, I'm sure there's people like her out there that I can't think of, that are out there spreading this message that it's okay, embrace your giantness, go eat those hot fudge sundaes, go eat that extra sandwich. It makes me angry because I'm just gonna start blaming people like Lizzo for part of the unnecessary deaths in the obesity world, because she is not spreading the right message. I know I'm overweight and unhealthy.
Yeah, every time there's like a heart attack or a coronary issue, you just start blaming them. This is your fault, Lizzo.
It legitimately upsets me because it is a long-standing problem in this country. Obesity is a real disease. It's a problem. And it stems all the way down to our kids. Our kids are fat as hell right now because all they do is stay in the house and look at these goddamn things all day.
Yeah.
Pardon my language,
and order in.
And order in. We can't even go outside and play in the grass anymore, like we were talking about earlier.
Oh my God. But yesterday my kids were like, let's get dinner. I'm like, how about something healthy like Panera bread? And they're like, yeah, okay. They have salads, right?
Right.
No, my kid goes, can I get a cream of broccoli bread bowl, please?
There are some issues out there that I do think are legitimate. Even when I'm at my ideal weight, I'm still going to be a 3X. Okay. I am still not going to be able to find a comfortable chair in an airplane. It's just never going to happen unless there are some things changed. I don't fly because I hate flying. And part of the reason I hate flying is because it's not comfortable. It sucks.
It sucks.
It's awful, even for normal sized people. And
I'm tiny and I hate it.
Yeah, you get some fat lard ass like me and sitting next to Brian and Kadish in the middle aisle of a plane. None of us are going to be able to walk when that plane lands. It sucks.
Bro, I went to Florida with my brother and my dad who were bigger than me, and I was in the middle seat, bro.
Can you imagine me and Shane sitting next to each other
I couldn't imagine it.
The plane would be flying like this the whole way. We'd have to sit on opposite sides of the plane to balance the thing out. Okay, it's just the way it is. But you know, I think there's a market out there for oversized bed frames and chairs. I hate breaking futons. You know, there's big people. Okay, there are big people. I'm a big person. I'm almost 6'2". I'm gonna weigh 250 pounds when I'm at 10% body fat. It's just the way it is. It's how I'm structured. It's the way my bones are. It's fine. It's something I have to deal with. But people like Lizzo out there are encouraging the wrong thing. They're sending the wrong message. And it's very frustrating because obesity is a disease. It sucks, and it's going to kill people early if those who don't get a hold of it. 100%. So.
I think one part of the thing, I'm totally with you, by the way, because I used to be overweight as well, and I like a lot overweight, and I lost the weight, thank God. But it takes a lot of effort and energy to do it, and it's but I think it's interesting to note though that this body positivity movement is another form of psyop and a form of control, because you have to understand that the selective kind of like what we pick about what we want to follow with regards to science. Like when a few years ago, when that thing happened that we don't want to talk about even on YouTube still, and they pushed, you know, the cure for it. I think this is a big pharma movement as well. I think it's a big pharma psyop, because understanding that if you're overweight, because we've understood this for a long time, that being overweight causes like, you know, blood clots, heart problems, all sorts of stuff, diabetes. I mean, the list goes on. Everyone knows this. But at some point we all decided, hey, you know what? Like, well, not we all, they decided it for us that none of this is actually a problem, and it's actually a good thing. Because and the reason for that is because when you become diagnosed with those things, you become a patient for the rest of your life, and then you are basically part of the medical pharmaceutical industry.
I would also throw the food lobby in there. But
hey guys, if you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and comment below on your favorite video as well. That goes a long way with helping us boost our channel and get out there in front of more people, and it lets YouTube know that we're doing something right. And if you want to catch us live, we go live 2 times a week, once on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time and on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. So join us there in the chat. We will see you on the live stream. Stay salty.